Correct.
Carter Womsley.
Good Sunday evening, high school sports fans. Joe Gillaway with Lingelstown Gazette Sports live from the Orchard Street studio. And this is our High School Hoops weekly recap show. I'll be joined momentarily by our panel of experts along with our special opening guest as soon as we're done thanking those responsible for bringing you tonight's show, our Lingelstown Gazette Sports Platinum sponsors. And they are Rickabaug's Electric, Payer Apparel, American Legion Post 272, Sam Hartley Decking, Modern Imprint, Hoffman Ford, Ted's Bar and Grill, The Tire Mart, Freedom Financial Wealth Management, Capital Region Insurance Agency, Tonino's Pizza, Team PA, AAU Basketball Program, Underdog Sports Bar and Grill, and Crystal Bob at Howard Hanna Real Estate. Thank you to those great local businesses for their continued support of Lingelstown Gazette Sports and our area student athletes. Upcoming on Gazette Sports Chat, we're really excited. January 6th, I believe it's a Monday, we have all four of the Jaycott ladies, the Kelly, Katie, Julie, and Jill Jaycott, all coming on the show together. This is something I've really been wanting to do for a few years now, and finally have the opportunity to bring them all on. And we're going to talk about just growing up in one of the more prominent basketball families I can even think of. So the Jaycotts on the 6th of January. We're working on a girls wrestling show, a podcast. I just spoke with Coach Chris Flegel from Altoona girls basketball. He's going to get his captains together and do a podcast. I just spoke with Joe Heeden. We're going to do a one-on-one interview with Joe Heeden. And then Central Dauphin girls basketball coach Randy Gambelungi is going to send some girls to the podcast, maybe the second or third week in January. And then next Sunday and every Sunday at 6 o'clock, this show. So that's a lot. I know that was a mouthful. Sorry to keep you guys waiting, but we got a lot going on here with this podcast. So tonight's opening guest is in his 12th year as head coach at his alma mater, Big Spring High School, with this season's team out of the gate to a 6-1 start. He's coming off a 2023-2024 season where he became his school's boys basketball all-time wins leader before guiding his team to the District 3 Class 4A championship game. We'll talk about growing up with a father who coached and how that aspect of their relationship may influence him in his approach to coaching today. It's our pleasure to welcome to the show Big Spring High School head basketball coach Jason Creek. Coach Creek, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Certainly. We're excited to have. Did I get everything right there, by the way? 12th
Yeah, that was pretty good.
13th season overall, one season at West Perry first, and then okay, good. Because I don't always get it right. I always ask the coaches, and sometimes they'll say, "Actually, no, you didn't." So anyway, we're excited to have you, Coach. I'm just going to get you started, and then we're going to let everybody who's got questions. Big Spring graduate, right?
Yep. Yes, sir.
And the first question I always ask is it like a dream come true to be able to have this job back at your alma mater?
Absolutely. I started coaching. I got out of college. I got into coaching basketball. I was a junior high coach under Steve Natisha at Big Spring. Did that for 3 years. Close with Andre Anderson at Carlisle. He offered me a spot to be a varsity assistant JV head coach. Took that. Was there for a year, went to West Perry, from West Perry, went to Big Spring. And I never thought I would leave West Perry when I got there. I loved it, loved everything about it. The kids were great. The parents were good. We had a lot to build on after Mike Urich's time there. But the call came in after 1 year that Big Spring's job was open. It was too good to even think about passing up. So went back there and wanted to build a winner.
Yeah, you don't know when you you may or may not get that opportunity again. You know,
that's right.
Yeah, it's kind of we're stuck between a rock and a hard place. I think West Perry's doing well this year. I mean, I've been following them a little bit. I think they're doing well.
They are doing well. When I left West Perry to come to Big Spring, I brought a young man from West Perry over to Big Spring named Devin Whitfield. Devin's back there as a varsity assistant, so it's been working out good.
Wonderful. Okay, I'm going to ask you one more question, and we'll turn you over to the guys. Your dad was a coach, right?
Yep.
What did he coach? To what level? At what level? To what capacity? What did he do?
My dad was a varsity football assistant and a health and phys ed teacher at Big Spring for 30 years. And I was always around the game. I was always around coaches, always around the locker room and the coaches' meetings. And I knew at a young age I was going to be coaching. There was no doubt about it.
Good. You just answered that was my question. And was there an influence on you from your father, and it sounds like there was a huge one.
100%.
Right. Guys, who's up next?
Well, I'll tell you what, I got all this history here. I got all this history. Jason, I have you for 117 wins. And the previous win coach was George Houck. And he coached the last Big Spring and only other Big Spring team to go to a District 3 championship game was at the AA or Class B back in 1963. And guys lost a heartbreaker, tough game to Kutztown.
Yes.
Team back then. And of course, they went to the state. So, yeah, just I know that it was a heck of a run last year. So, who do you know? Do you remember anybody else? Did you ever meet George Houck, the coach of the 63 Big Spring?
When I got the job at Big Spring, one of the things that I tried to do was develop a little bit of what the history of Big Spring basketball looked like. And we tried to go back and make sure we had clear stats and records and understanding of what the history was. In the process of doing that, Coach Houck passed away, and his family sent me all of the tapes and stats and everything that Coach Houck had saved. And it really helped us get some more information. But I never had the pleasure of meeting him. But without a doubt, obviously that year in 62-63 was a special year. I think a 25-win season. Yeah, never had the pleasure of meeting him, but in a short amount of time, he coached for 9 years, and until my tenure, no one had coached longer than 9 years at Big Spring since him. So,
and I just want to make a correction. I think he's actually at more than 117 now. He broke the record. He was at 113 at that point, and that was in January. He had the rest of that season, and then the wins he has this year, which. They're all just wins, right, Coach? I mean, but still, I
can't get any of them without the fellas. So without the guys, man, I got none.
130, something like that.
3 wins. Now, the 6 wins this year, you're 6-1, only Steel High. Some of the guys from 63, John Wyrick, Bill Chronister, Randy Kahn, Gary Ekman. I'm throwing these names, maybe you guys out in District 3. Mara might know these guys: Bob Baker, Bob Hoover, Tom Phillips, and Stan North.
Yep, Bob Baker has since passed away, but his son still works for the Big Spring School District. He was a long-time football coach at Big Spring. My dad actually coached under him during those 30 years. Bob Baker was also on that football staff as well. So yeah, a lot of names that are very familiar.
Let me bring in Coach Ty Savercool, because it's he's responsible for you, and I'm so glad he made the recommendation. But I asked Ty last week, I said, hey, it's your turn to pick a coach for our opening guest. And he, without hesitation, said, I want Jason Creek from Big Spring. Coach Savercool, tell us a little bit about Coach Creek, what you know about him.
He can't beat a team that we're both coaching at the same time. He can't beat my team. So
I figured that was going to come up at some point. Out of those 100 and whatever wins, I think 0-2 are to Coach Savercool. So yes.
But I guess, Mike, I'm the basketball coach type angle of it. So your brand of basketball is I think different than most of the teams, especially defensively, than most teams in the Mid-Pac Conference. I mean, you are kind of zone first, predominant zone, and really don't like to get out of that as much. And I don't think it's changed of late. I mean, I haven't seen you as much of it the past 2 years. So I guess kind of how did you arrive to that kind of style and brand of basketball on the defensive side?
I'll tell you what, I grew up, Rick Van Pelt was a coach here at Big Spring when I was coming up through the youth program, and he was big on man defense. And then Joel Martin was a coach here at Big Spring, big on man defense. And I have a ton of background on man defense. But one of the things we always worked on was the shell drill. The shell drill was a staple of our man defense. And as we do the shell drill, when I was younger, I kept thinking, well, the way the shell drill works, we protect the paint. We play really good help side. And what about a zone? It's essentially a zone. A shell drill is essentially a zone. So when I went to Carlisle, we were in the process of maybe not having as much depth the first year there, and foul trouble was an issue, things like that. So we started out with a point zone. So I took the point zone that we were running at Carlisle, I tweaked it a little bit on how we rotate it, and I took it to West Perry. And when I got to West Perry, we weren't supposed to be any good. That whole group of kids had graduated, and we had no varsity experience. We ran the point zone, tweaked it a little bit more when we came to Big Spring. What we do is we try to prevent anyone getting to the paint by land or air. So by dribble or by pass, we take away the high post. We take away any kind of dribble penetration, and we force you to settle for threes and especially corner threes, which I believe is one of the hardest shots to shoot. That compounded with the fact that we don't have a lot of depth at Big Spring. Year to year, we're in a little bit of a depth issue. So it keeps us out of foul trouble. It helps in the preparation. Now we can tweak our zone. So we call it 12. It's really a 3-2 zone, and we can tweak it about 10 to 12 different ways, depending on what we need to do, depending on what that scouting report says for us. So we have stuck to that. Now, the Camp Hill game just this past week, we ended up getting out of it. We ended up doing some different things. So I'm open to whatever gives us the best chance to win the game. But it's something the kids have bought into. And we consistently have built a culture on having good defense that keeps people from attacking us.
Good. Jeff Morrow, John Velios, either of you have anything?
Yeah, I got something. Jason, congratulations, man. Last year
Thank
it was fun to watch from afar. A little more annoying now that you're in our division this year. And we welcomed you to the Mid-Penn Capital with our mutual division opener this year when you came up to Hannah and walked away with a 3-point victory. I could just give you some observations I had from your team. I know you guys you're talking about the depth, and I knew you had a couple guys hurt. I think Wes Reel for one. I know that one because I grew up with his mom, and I thought I'd like to think that playing Hannah is not fun. You know, like we like to pressure, we like to run. I thought we'd eventually wear a team out that doesn't have a lot of subs, and that night you didn't have a lot of subs. I know you were missing some guys. You guys are in shape for being only running 5 or 6 guys that night. You didn't tire out. And Aiden, I think we held him to 4 points in that first quarter. I was like, all right, we can do this. And then I think he ripped off 13 in the second quarter, and that's when you guys took control. He hit some shots with hands in his faces, like unreal shots. I mean, we can't fault our defense on him. We had guys in good position. He's just knocking them down. So my question after all that long introduction is, how are you doing that with the depth that when you're only running, especially when you have some injuries like you do, when you're only running 5 or 6 guys?
Well, first of all, Aiden Sally's a special player. I mean, that kid, and he'll run through a brick wall for me. So having a guy like that makes everything a little bit better, right? But as far as the conditioning aspect, we try to run our program as serious as we can, and we put a huge emphasis in conditioning. And our guys have quite a schedule that may be different than the normal high school basketball program, and we like to do that because we feel that gives us an advantage. The kids got to report by 5 o'clock every day. From 5 to 6, we do a film and a meeting, and then at 6 we hit the floor. We're on the floor from 6 to 8:30. And that's every day. So office hours for me, for the players, is between 3 and 5. That's when they need to come in and ask questions, just meet, get treatment from the trainer. So really from about 3 o'clock to 8:30, it's on for these guys. And we kind of run that every day. As soon as we have a preseason before the season actually starts. We try to get them in and get them in conditioning. If we don't have any football guys or anything else, we try to get them going the best we can, because conditioning is a big piece of what we do. We want to out hustle teams. That's always kind of been our style. We always said that I'm going to coach with tough love. I'm going to get on you when I need to get on you. And I expect you to be an energy giver, not an energy taker. It's kind of been two slogans we've lived by. And if we condition at a high level, we feel like we can win those 50-50 balls, and we can win in the fourth quarter.
You have your team buys in. I mean, that's one of the observations I have. You can tell that you have a roster full of guys that have bought in. And that's just a credit. I think it's a credit to you and the rest of the staff there at Big Spring. My last question before I turn it over to someone else is, when you're how's your coaching style changed? Not necessarily from like West Perry, but maybe from West Perry to now. But I mean, just your demeanor on the bench. How have you changed? How have you grown?
I think early in my coaching career, I think I was a little quicker to say, this is what we're going to do. This is the game plan. This is what I see us having a chance to be successful to win this game. This is what we're going to do. And now I think I'm a little bit more open to check in with the guys. Hey, if I know Aiden Sally likes to catch the ball in this location to score, I'm going to try to find ways that we can do that. If I know my point guard likes to catch in momentum and let a couple go, my shot selection 8 years ago would have said that's a bad shot. Now we're going to let that thing go. I think just growing as the game grows, and really truly listening to your players and having a good feel for your players and what makes them comfortable, and then trying to put them in the right spot to be successful off of what they like to do.
John?
Coach, Dave Berman was breaking up there earlier, so I couldn't follow if he said that you guys, Big Spring, made it to districts or the playoffs in the 60s, but as far as I know, last year was the first year you guys ever got to districts. You ended up losing, right?
District championship. It was the second time.
It was the second time we ever got to district championship. It was the first time we ever got to states last year.
Right.
Basically
Okay,
twice
so
in 60 years now, I think, right? Is that 63 and 2023? Is that correct?
As far as the district championship goes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so congratulations on getting to the state playoffs last year for the first time ever. I mean, it's a huge accomplishment. And you've been there for 12 years at Big Spring. Was it a few years ago that you noticed you were turning the program around into the positive? I know you had a good year a few years ago with Matthew Ward, was one of your better players.
Absolutely.
That's like at the beginning of the turnaround of the program.
Yeah, I think it was a little before that, actually. When we got in, the first thing we needed to do was build a youth program. There wasn't a youth program at the time. And, we started to build a youth program, get a couple of our local group of travel teams out, things like that. We then established that about 7 years ago that we have 100 kids in our youth program. We have 3 travel teams that are heading off to Mechanicsburg and Harrisburg on the weekends. Peyton Bechtold was our first 1,000-point scorer, and then Gavin Pritchett was 1,000-point scorer, and then Matthew Ward, and then Jake Nouse and Aiden Sally. We've had 5,000-point scorers in just the last 6 years, and that was something that's doubled than what there was before. And I think. So long story short, last year was the 7th straight season of double-digit wins for Big Spring, and that was a school record as well. So I think about 7 years ago that the tide started turning a little bit, and our guys started understanding we could win, we could do it here, and it just trickles down, and then it gets in the junior high, and it gets in the young kids. And right now we have a really good base. Like I said, we still have a ton of kids in our youth program. We have 3 travel teams going out. Our junior high team is undefeated, went undefeated last year. So there's a lot of things to be proud about for Big Spring basketball right now.
That's wonderful. That's exciting.
Congratulations, Coach. Yeah, keep it up. Keep up the good work.
Thank
Last year, let's take you back to sometime in January. You're 3 weeks from the end of the regular season. That's kind of the home stretch, right? Last 3
Yep.
weeks, maybe last
Yep.
6, 7 games. You lost 5 of 6 at the beginning of that stretch, 4 straight and 5 of 6. And then 3 weeks later, kind of out of the ashes of defeat, that had to be kind of a period of games there, of weeks that there had to be some question marks. And, what happened that we were winning all season and now we can barely buy a win. Next thing you know, you're in a district championship game. And I was there. I was courtside. You guys were down a point at the end of the third quarter. That was anybody's game. But what happened? I don't know if it was a turnaround or just trying to get the message out a little better, or players just weren't making shots. What was going on there while you were losing those games for the last 3 weeks? And then how'd you turn it around and end up in a district championship?
I think that's kind of just the attitude and the culture that we've tried to build at Big Spring. I mean, I think we won some of those games the first time around. The second time, a break or two didn't go our way, went on a little slide. We thought we had a tough schedule last year, and we knew that the back half of it was going to be tougher. We go into every game with a new game plan. I think, and Ty will tell you this, I think I have 60 sets on my play call sheet, and that's the truth. But going into every game, we figure out which one of those sets, what handful of those sets, what 5 to 10 of those sets are we really going to use this matchup? What is going to be successful for us? We pretty much have a set for anything you throw at us. So we're prepared, we're ready. And to get back to the question, it's one of those things that we treat every game like that too. Every game's a unique game. A game doesn't go your way, you got to flush it. We watch the film, we learn from it, just like we did with Steel High the other day. We felt like we let one slip away with Steel High. Credit to them. They battled back. It was a game of runs. They had the final run. We went and looked at that film and looked at all the things that we did not execute properly, and then kind of turned the page and went into Camp Hill, and we had a totally different game plan for Camp Hill. So, each game's unique and different. And if we do not get it done one game, I promise you, my guys will not hang their head. We'll get back to work the next day, and we'll have a plan in place to get it back on the right path. And I think that's kind of what happened last year. Once we got into districts, we felt good that we were going to get in. We got in, and then it was, hey, you're giving us 2 weeks to prepare for Littlestown. We're going to get this thing right. And that was an exciting game for us because winning Littlestown clinched a state bid. And from the get-go last year, the kids' goal was to make states. Districts had been done now for a few years in a row. 4 out of the last 5 years we were in districts. It was, can we break that next layer? And that was quite a celebration for us to get Littlestown. And then we rolled into Fleetwood kind of on house money, and Aiden Sally did Aiden Sally things. And, there was no set called at the end of that game. That was Aiden Sally making plays, and, got us to the Giant Center, which was extremely exciting for our community. It's not many communities, when you make it to the district championship, they're going to let all the elementary kids out of school, and you're going to take a charter bus and you're going to parade through every elementary school's parking lot with all the kids out screaming and hollering for you to go to the Giant Center that day. I mean, if that doesn't give our guys chills, I don't know what will. But that was awesome. I mean, the way the community rallied behind us was pretty special.
Yeah, that is special.
Back in 1963, they did the same thing, man. Looking at the article, played Kutztown, but back then you had to win the district championship.
Correct.
To go to the state tournament. Great. You had to open up with Archbishop Carroll from my neck of the woods down here. Francis Bow. They came out there loaded with young talent, Philadelphia Catholic League team, and you gave them a very good game. Lost by 6-7 points after the game.
By 7.
I want to read this quote here from Coach Francis Bow, who I know very well. Carroll. He said Jason Creek had his guys ready. Their players make plays. Hats off to Aiden Sally. He's everything and that plus more. A great experience for us coming out there and getting the experience to play on your floor at Newville Big Spring High School. Unbelievable. And you might have a matchup again with them this year.
Sure, that was a special game for us, and again, we had some time to prepare. We did a ton of research on them. When you make a scouting report and you have you're playing against a team with 7 guys that have a Division I offer, instantly that takes that 60 sets we run down to like 1. So like now all of a sudden I'm thinking, how can we stay in the game? And we prepped very hard for them. We were throwing 7, 8 guys out on half court defense on scout team to try to simulate the stress that's going to be with that team. And man, we fought right in there. We played in front of a little shy of 1,000 people at Big Spring High School in a gym for a boys basketball game. And that was just special stuff.
Thank you, Coach.
People
Big Spring High School head coach Jason Creek
in your town, which is absolutely unbelievable.
That's right.
People at that game, and then of course Archbishop Carroll went to the state finals in 4A, lost to Lincoln.
Absolutely. Yes,
now
they
it's
did.
up to you, buddy. You can stick around and check out, follow the insanity over the next 40 minutes, or if you want to go do something else. We really
I don't want to give Ty any more time to pick on me, so I don't know. I think I'll just. But thank you so much for having me.
Every week we think we have the best interview, and then the next week we really get the best one. So that was a great time, Coach. Off to a 6-1 record, 3-1, tied for second in the Mid-Penn Capital Division. Have 2 big games coming up still with Trinity, and it's an exciting time to be connected in one way or the other with Big Spring boys basketball, right?
Absolutely. Hey, thanks so much, guys.
Yep.
You guys have a great holiday.
We really appreciate it.
See you
Thanks,
January 13th, Jason.
Thank
Take care,
you.
Coach. All right, so that was awesome. Big Spring coach Jason Creek. We want to welcome in Jeff Morrow. Jeff's has spent a lot of his adult life, his professional life, in sports journalism and reporting, and now you're in a different realm of not covering sports. But what are you doing now, Jeff?
Yeah, it was actually it was. I'm not even making a joke here, but it was people like Ty, who really made me love what I did, like that reporting and working for Penn Live for a long time, and then I was with the Carlisle Sentinel for a little while. And just like seeing different aspects of it and having that kind of reporter-coach relationship, where I'm trying to learn, I'm trying to report. I don't think I tried to never do it with bias. But when I left journalism, I wanted to stay involved in some way. And it was when Dave Archer left Central Penn College to take over Susquehanna Township before the 2021-22 season. I had done an article on a freelance article on Archer in the summer of 2020, and it just reconnected us from the time when I was covering some of his teams from Pine Grove down to the charter schools down in York when he was coaching those. And he brought me on to do the scorebook for Susquehanna Township just around the same time my wife and I bought a house in Susquehanna Township, and it's turned out to be like a perfect way to stay involved in the game and to see things from another perspective, what I got to, experience through conversation with people like Ty. I was able to, kind of live this now. I'm in the locker rooms, during halftime, after games, I'm talking to coaches, I'm like the scorebook / analytics guy. I'm not able to get to many of the practices, so I'm not out there like a lot of our awesome coaches, but I am involved, and it's a really cool aspect. So Archer was there for 1 year, and we had Malcolm Wirtz come in because Archer became a assistant principal. He's now our head principal at the high school. And then Avery Cloud took over, and he's in his second full year, I think. So it's been a great experience for me. And we get to play against guys like Jason Creek, who I covered in my day, and I'm seeing names and faces I recognized all the time. Now I'm in the Mid-Penn Capital now, so most of those guys. I mean, I see Larry Kostolak twice a year. Scott Barrow from Camp Hill. Some of these other guys. So it's I don't get to see much in the Mid-Penn Commonwealth, the Keystone, or Colonial, but we do have some matchups with some of those teams, as we'll discuss in a little bit when we talk about our wild weekend at Susquehanna Township.
Yeah, that's interesting how you said it. The kind of connection that you're able to feel just by doing the scorebook. Now you're in the locker rooms, probably on the bus to the away games and stuff like that. But I've been doing the public address announcing for Central Dauphin girls for 10 years. I'm in my 10th, and there's just something about that, man. It's the connection I have with the program, with the girls, with the coaches. Am I part of the team? By no means. Not as much as you are with them, but I know what you're talking about when you say that you're able to develop that connection with the team, and that's a neat thing. That's kind of special. So let's talk about. We like to start with our games of the week, and we might have a handful here, but let's start with two of them that involved your team, Susquehanna Township. Was it back-to-back days? Yeah, it was Friday night and Saturday, right?
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
I termed it. Sorry, not to say I termed it that we played 10 quarters in about 24 hours.
How about that? Yeah. So Friday night, Steel High, 78, Susquehanna Township, 76 in overtime, 2-point loss. And then the next day, Susquehanna Township, 75-74 over Harrisburg. The Friday night game was they both were at home, right?
Yeah.
They were both at home. So let's start with I'm just going to let you go right ahead and talk about these games. Let's talk about the Friday night loss to Steel High. What did you see there?
Well, first of all, our coaches, Avery Cloud, Jason Bear as assistant, they're Harrisburg guys. Jason works at Harrisburg, although he came from Township. Avery coached under Smallwood for many years at Harrisburg. Avery Cloud, and his son was not too long ago a graduate from Harrisburg High, was their I believe point guard. David Archer's still very much involved as the principal, and he's serving as the acting athletic director right now as well. They wanted to bring some of these games of the past, these rivalry games from years past, back to Susquehanna Township. Now, Steel High is a division game, but the last few years both teams have had more downs than ups when you look at the record. We've had some great battles with them, but they haven't meant as much in the season aspect. It certainly wasn't like 2007 when they met in the state championship game. But anybody who's been around basketball as a fan, as a coach, as a reporter, remembers those games from the 2000s. Anything involving Susquehanna Township, Steel High, Harrisburg, Central Dauphin, some of these games. I mean, there were, I love to see what teams like Cumberland Valley and Bishop McDevitt and others are doing now. But back then, everything was after the Hannahs and the Steel Highs and the Harrisburgs, and so the point of this past weekend was to bring back some of that rivalry feel, and certainly don't plan it that both games are going to go into overtime and be wild thrillers, but it just worked out that way. And so starting with the Steel High game on Friday night, a game of runs, came down to overtime. One of our guys hit one of two free throws with about 8 seconds left to force overtime, and we were down. And I believe Alfonso Burnett banked in a three-pointer and tied the game. And then Steel High had a chance to go down, and our phenomenal freshman Ja'Kai Sloan Marks swatted a ball that went out of bounds. So Steel High had an inbounds play with 3 seconds left, and one of the architects of those great Steel High teams from the past was Tristan Crawford. Well, it's his son, Tristan Crawford Jr., who took the inbounds pass and had a leaner at the buzzer as time went out to beat us. And just a heartbreaking, devastating defeat for our guys who just battled and gave everything they could. As Jason was alluding to, Steel High is doing something special. Again, they're back on track. So to have a game right away, the next day is. I told Avery Cloud after the game, I said, this is like a great thing to have that game. I think Ty would probably agree. If you have a tough game like that, to be able to put it in your rear view as quickly as possible and have that game, the next day is crucial. And Harrisburg is building back up. Damone Maxwell's doing a really good job over there and getting them back on their way. They just beaten CD East on Friday night, so they were coming on a little bit of a high. And again, we had a great game with them. Our squad had a lead for much of the game, and Harrisburg had a big comeback to take the lead late in the third quarter. It was back and forth over the fourth quarter. We get into overtime. We fall behind a few buckets, a couple possessions, and we were without a couple guys. Makai Slappy and Jakai Sloan Marks had left the game with fouls, and we needed somebody to step up. And Alfonso Burnett always steps up. He scored 29 points Friday night, 28 points last night, Saturday night, and he hit a couple huge shots. But it was the kid who made the play for us is really a 3-point specialist for us off the bench, named Bayer Stewart. It's his first year with our program. I think he played JV at East Pennsboro a few years ago before he moved into our district. And he had a steal and breakaway dunk with about 30 seconds left to put us up by 1, and our defense held out from there. Travis Turner with a steal in the last couple seconds to preserve it, and we needed that, because if we would have lost back-to-back OT games going into the break, because we're off for a few weeks, or about almost 2 weeks now, that would have been devastating. But that was such a great moment for our kids, and the atmosphere in the gym both nights was really good. I mean, seats were filled. There was a DJ both nights. There was music going. Cheerleaders were there on Friday night. It was just a lot of fun to be there. I had the easiest job, just keeping the book. But these kids putting that kind of effort in on back-to-back nights. Just a huge credit to them, to our coaching staff for keeping everybody together after a tough Friday night. I just love being involved, and and as somebody mentioned, building those relationships, like you said, Joe, with doing the PA for the Central Dolphin girls. I came in when Alfonso Burnett was a freshman, and all of our Travis Turner was a freshman on the JV team. Caden Folk was a freshman on the JV team. Like, now they're all seniors. I mean, it kind of just feels like that slow build to something special. And we still have a long way to go. We have a lot of work to do if we want to, break our playoff drought and get into the mix. And we've had a couple tough losses. In addition to Steel High, we lost to Big Spring by 3 points. We lost to Trinity by a bucket. But our team is there, and it can play with anyone right now. And it's exciting to be part of. And these last 2 nights proved that excitement on a mid-pen conference-wide scale.
Jeff, thank you very much. And I didn't realize, I didn't do the math. I printed out, thank you for sending these. I printed these out, but I didn't realize that Burnett had 57 in 2 days. And, I was going to mention that Nolan Bozolka from Cumberland Valley, he had 57 in 2 days too. 25 against Central Dolphin, then 32 against Abington. But so we had 2 local players with 57 points in 24 hours. That's amazing. And thanks for those great recaps. What you talked about first before you really started breaking down the games themselves is just the importance of, like right around Harrisburg, there's only 3 or 4 schools, or, maybe a couple more than that. But the most prominent ones would be Harrisburg, Susquehanna Township, Steel High, maybe East and CD. You mentioned them. So to get these teams together, hopefully on an annual basis after yesterday, even if they don't play one another in the division, there's some importance attached to that. So I really appreciate that, Jeff. And stick around with us if you want. Same rule for you. If you have stuff to do, go do it. We'd love to have you stick around as a kind of a guest panelist here, though, because we're going to talk about more high school basketball. So that's Jeff Morrow. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, you guys know, Joe, you remember Alfonso Burnett's dad, 2002 PIAA state champ, unbelievable play. Harrisburg, as I posted on my Facebook page.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yep.
So Fonz Burnett, and that's the last Harrisburg PIAA state champion.
Yeah, he went by Fonz. He was that was the second of 2, 98 and 02, right? Were the 2 Kirk Smallwood championships.
Yep.
So let's move right to John. I'm going to bring you in here. because you watched probably most of or the whole Central Dauphin Cumberland Valley boys game Friday night. Well, we're talking only boys here, but 71-49 it ended up. I think it was a 1-point game at the half, and Cumberland Valley just turned on the afterburners and just took it to them in the second half. What's that Cumberland Valley team? I'm not shocked.
Yeah, it looks like Cumberland Valley sort of started out slow this year, Joe. Got their losses early, but they've turned it around in the last couple of weeks for sure. They're currently Cumberland Valley's currently 6-2. They beat big win over Central Dauphin, like you mentioned this Friday, and then they beat Abington just yesterday. So they were playing a zone defense against CD, and it had CD flustered in the second half. CD's top player, Wayne Fletcher, only had 11 points, which is under his average.
Mm-hmm.
It sort of just made them take the outside shots, and they weren't hitting them. So big win for CV for sure. That Commonwealth division is tough. I mean, Carlisle is 5-2 now. Cumberland Valley 6-2. CD is 6-1 now.
6-1 overall.
Yeah,
and that one loss so nobody's undefeated anymore in the Commonwealth division. There's one. Carlisle has 2 losses. Chambersburg, Central Dauphin, and Cumberland Valley all have 1 loss. So yeah.
And then after that, it's like CD East is struggling a little bit. They're 2-6. Harrisburg is 2-3. State College, I mean, they're up and down, sort of seems. And Chambersburg, CD had a good win against Chambersburg this week. So
a really good win. They won 2 out of 3 against the. I mean, after you get those 2, and Coach Sabercool, you'll agree with this. When you have a stretch of 3 really tough games, and you think, and I don't know what you think, you want to win them all, I'm sure, but they were really 3 tough games, and I would think, like, man, if we could just get 2 out of 3 here. But then once you get those first 2, they definitely want to win that third, right?
Yeah, I mean,
that 2 out of 3 goes out the window.
Yeah, and conversely, like Jeff mentioned, the beauty of basketball, unlike football, is whenever you have a bad game, you can turn the page a lot quicker, and you can kind of put that in your memory bank a lot quicker in basketball, just because a bad Friday night game rebounded with a Saturday game that you can win really erases that Friday for the following week.
And Central Dauphin's Saturday game is actually tomorrow. They have a game against visiting Wilkes-Barre. It's a makeup game due to weather a couple weeks ago. So Central Dauphin has an opportunity to kind of get that bounce back win. And Wilkes-Barre is going to be tough. They took Cumberland Valley to overtime. So that's no easy game.
Joe, I can't believe, and you mentioned this, Cumberland Valley beat Abington 83-52, and Abington is one of our better teams down here. They're 6-2, and that's unbelievable what they did to them. And they play Abington and Chester play next week, so I'm going to be keeping it. That's an incredible win for Cumberland Valley. Not only what they did back-to-back nights, man.
Just to provide you with some facts here, Cumberland Valley was they won the district last year. They were probably the second best team in the district. Red Lion upset Central York, who ended up winning the state championship. But the point is, Cumberland Valley was very good last year. They lost 1 player, 1 impact player, Jake Snyder. They returned Bazolka, Crespin Austin, JJ Lebo, Deal, and D'Olimpio. So they returned, I guess, 6 of their first 7, their top 7 players. That's going to be a good team when you factor in one of the best coaches around. And like John said, maybe they were just, I don't know, out of the gate. They lost a couple games, it just happens. But don't think that was a shocker. John, you and I were texting. I was like, that's what happens when you play CV and they get hot. When they start playing CV basketball, man, watch out, because when they're moving the ball around the perimeter and making shots, it's hard to keep up with them, isn't it, Ty?
Yeah, I mean, they started slow, like John mentioned, but ultimately you don't remember a December loss come February when you're a team with their kind of skill level and aspiration. Right. So ultimately they'll use those December, if not a loss, a bad game that was closer than what it should have been. They'll use that to get better from, and I know Vesby will. I had a chance to see them in person this past week when they played Harrisburg. So I got to see, some of what they have and what they bring to the table. And they're deep, they're skilled. They've got multiple players that can shoot the ball. They can do a lot of really good things, and I think they can really beat anyone any given night, especially with some of the guns that they have that can shoot the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So they get hot, they can ride that.
Really good rebounding, Joe. I mean, Central Dauphin was one and done most of the game, and at least the second half. Really good rebounding.
That was part of the one thing. I was talking to Coach Vespi after the Harrisburg game, and the one thing they didn't do well in that game was rebounding. They were actually really, really bad in that game. Like Harrisburg had multiple second chance, third chance opportunities. In Harrisburg, they were throwing the ball to the rim and going and getting it and getting opportunities to score. And probably Vespi made it a point those next couple of days of practice to really rebound and shut them down after one shot.
That's 6 of 7 now. Cumberland Valley has beaten Central Dauphin. That's a trend, guys. You know,
that's a lot.
That's a lot, yeah. And the thing is that this switch has been flipped. Central Dauphin used to, if not dominate them, beat them a lot more than they would. You know, CV would beat them, and now on the girls' side, I mean, these are big rivalries, boys and girls. The Central Dauphin girls are now starting to beat the Cumberland Valley girls with regularity. So there's always subplots and storylines there when you get Central Dauphin and Cumberland Valley matched up. And so we'll see what happens tomorrow. I'm going to go to that game, just watch it as a fan, take my grandson, and hopefully Wayne Fletcher and his crew get back on track there. So, Ty, you watched that Harrisburg Cumberland Valley game. Anything to note there?
Yeah, I mean, Harrisburg's just kind of lacking the one or two players that are very skilled.
A lot of football players out there.
They have a lot of players that are athletic and can do things and can guard well, and can move around the floor. But you know, they don't have those like Sheen McIntyre, Jahad Proctor type of kids, like that one player that can just change the game. They get that piece, you know, they will kind of return back to what we expect of Harrisburg. Damone's got them going in the right direction. They just they like that 1-2 player that can kind of change the game and get a bucket when they need a bucket.
Dave, how about you, man? Let's bring you in. You're our resident District 12, District 1 guy. You live in Delaware County, which is like suburban Philly. So they're the two districts that you're kind of locked in on the most. What's going on down your way? Lots of transfers, lots of recruits going on. But business as usual.
Yeah, I just found out, I forget where I posted it on my page. The Philadelphia Catholic League preview is out, done by Rich Flanagan, very in-depth, transfers galore, including Newman Goretti. They've got 5 or 6. They lost some guys too. A couple of guys went to Camden. But they got like 5 guys in, and they gave Central York a very good game yesterday. But it was a 6-point game. But Newman Goretti, I'm going to make a prediction right away. Newman Goretti will win the 5A PIAA state championship. They are now 5A. They bumped up. Newman Goretti boys back. Mm-hmm. All right, so I think anybody's going to touch them. Throw some names out there, 5A, that you know are good.
How do you like that, Jeff? We're making predictions here now.
Okay. Hotep, it moved to 6A. Archbishop Ryan, who's been in the state semis at 5A the past couple of years, losing to Imhotep. They're now 6. Imhotep was my favorite, even though Central York state champs, you know, team to beat. But Imhotep lost their 6'9" guy, Zahir Mohammed, to an injury, and they're still good. They lost by 50 points the other night to Oak Hill, so they are playing Imhotep, a tough non-league schedule. But right now, after watching what Central York did yesterday, they are still the team to beat for the PIAA state championship in 6A. Archbishop Carroll will win the 4A PIAA state title this year. They're insanely loaded, got recruits. And as for 3A, probably Devin Pratt will win the state championship.
Joe, mark that in with pen, not pencil.
Okay. I'll remember it. Devin Pratt, Archbishop Carroll.
Imhotep was just in the Hawaii Classic tournament, weren't they, in Hawaii?
Yeah, they lost by 50 points. Archbishop Carroll lost a couple of games by 30 or 40 points, too. So are we on a national level? Not really. Not really. My guys around the country, Philly basketball sucks. You guys can't beat the good teams. I go, well, Pennsylvania, our Catholic teams, and the teams are really good. So District 1, we have some great teams. Again, just like in high school football, We had Bayard Rustin go to the state semifinals in football 5A, and Jeff Morrow knows we lost to, Rustin lost in a big way to Roman Catholic. We had Downingtown West, as you know, in basketball, in football, make the state semis, and we got blasted by St. Joe Prep. So it's going to be pretty much the same thing.
Okay, let's have some fun here. Let's totally switch gears. I'm going to jump ahead to something we were going to do maybe closer to the end of the show, but we are getting closer to the end of the show. Let's talk about some of the players we like. I mean, some of them are obvious. Some of them are just going to make every list out there. But I just want to kind of spotlight some players. And I wrote these down. I don't know how many are here. I just made a list of who I'm familiar with and who I know are having really good seasons. Nolan Bazolka from Cumberland Valley, Parker Smith from Carlisle. We watched him play. I think he had 53. He had 73, 35 and 38 in like back-to-back games, something like that. J.J. Kelly from Chambersburg, Wayne Fletcher II, Central Dauphin, Owen Schlager, Trinity, Josh Smith, Mechanicsburg, Aiden Sally, Big Spring. How about Alil Batts? Has anybody seen Alil Batts play from Middletown?
I heard he's good.
I mean,
Middletown's having a really good year, Joe. 5-1 start this year.
They are. Yes, they are.
They just beat McDevitt, and they, I'm not sure they're only
Big
lost.
win over East Pennsboro. East Pennsboro went into the game, I believe, 6-1 or 7-1, and Middletown beat them by 20.
Lost to Middletown by 20. Yeah, you're right, Joe. East Penn's having one of the best years they've had in a long, long time. They're 7-1 right now.
With some injuries too, I think. Right, Ty?
Their best players hurt.
Yeah. So I just kind of looked into this, kind of try to peel a layer or two off of this Middletown. They've been good for a handful of years now, 3, 4, 5 years. But this Alil Batts, he's one of the leading scorers in the area. He seems to be at least their offensive leader. Cam Sweeney, to me, he's probably one of the top guys. Yeah, and he's kind of like the Swiss Army knife type of player. I think like he does more than just score.
I saw him on TV. I saw them in Mifflin County televises their home games. He beat them up pretty good. That's an impressive win, winning at Mifflin County.
And then the last one, and I forgot to add one, but Khalif Turner from Milton Hershey. And I'm mentioning him too because Milton Hershey's, I believe they're still undefeated, and he's their top offensive player. But I should have, and I will right now, I have to add in Alfonso Burnett, right, Jeff? I mean, he belongs in this conversation all day long, right?
Yeah. So, obviously the good genes, as Dave was talking about earlier with Fonz, his dad. He's a complete player. He's not always the highest scorer. The last two games, he's been, lighting it up. But he fills the stat sheets every night. Assists, rebounds, steals. And he's the leader. He's been starting since he was a freshman. He's got a great attitude. He's a smart kid. He's always, collecting some academic awards.
That's great.
And just he deserves this because he's gone through some of the, tough years here at Hannah. There was a couple of years ago, we went 2-20 with both wins against a down Boiling Springs team before they turned things around. And he's just, Alfonso's going to be forever one of my favorites just because of, going through all this with him and being able to have a front row seat to all of it. I think sometimes because he's not averaging 20 points a game, he might get overlooked in some of these conversations. And plus we weren't, we weren't winning the last few years, which also makes it tough to kind of get that attention. But he's legitimate, just all around solid player, great defender too.
I watched him play 2 weeks ago. I was doing the play-by-play for Penn Live for your game at Trinity, and I noticed that he does a little bit of everything. Yeah, he really does, and that's why I have to include him here. Anybody else want to throw any names out? I don't watch a whole lot of games, at least not yet. I'm sure I'll start getting my butt into some bleachers here soon. But who else should we be recognizing at this point?
All right, how about Josh Smith, all-time leading scorer now?
I got him.
He mentioned him.
I got him.
Yeah,
I can't leave. I wouldn't leave him out.
You covered a lot of guys, Joe. Probably we're missing a player or two from Steel High.
Probably Tristan Crawford, Kashmir Mangus. Is it Mangus?
Yeah.
Jeff? Yeah, Dave. Yeah, Chance Yanoski from Mechanicsburg. That's a good one.
Point number 1,000. And who else? Well, the guys I've seen, from the Central PA.
Yeah, I just want to try to take this moment because some of these kids might be watching, or their parents or their fans. I just want to make sure that we know that they know that we're watching them, man, and we're really happy with the way they're playing. Ty, how about you?
I mean, I'm rough on player names after being out of it now for a year and a half, but you mentioned Cam Sweeney earlier at Hershey, and I mean, there's been a Sweeney there. It seems like forever at Hershey, and they all do all the glue stuff that makes Hershey so sneaky good every year. That when the season ends and you're like, holy cow, they have 15, 17, 20 wins. There's a lot of glue things that take place that make them consistent and stable. So, obviously he's one that just sticks out to me within the Keystone. Chambersburg has the JJ kid who's just a phenomenal athlete, can score anywhere on the floor, and he's come a long way. I remember watching him. We played against Chambersburg when he was a freshman, and he was pretty much an around the rim kid. Mm-hmm. And couldn't do much else in terms of scoring. Like, he could defend the rim well because he could leave the ground and really guard the rim, even being undersized. But now he can score at all three levels. So he's really, really changed his game over the 4 years to the point now where he's a scholarship Division I kid to Ohio.
Go to Ohio. Where's Sally, the Sally kid? Where's he going to college?
I don't know. I
mean, we should ask Jason.
We're gonna have him on. I'm gonna have him on our weeknight show. We do a podcast, and I'd like to have him and Burnett on, just to, maybe 3 or 4 of the local players, and then try to get to 3 or 4 more. But
hey Joe, I got something. I can go through our schedule. We played a lot of these guys real quick, and just real quick.
That's what we're here for. Yeah,
because we played Parker. Our first game was against Carlisle and played Parker Smith, and we actually did a pretty good job on him. Held him to 18, which seems a good job.
That sounds like a quarter and a half for him.
Yeah, but just foul trouble helped in that one. But just obviously a huge talent there. We played Chichester. I don't remember much about them. Aiden Sally was incredible. As I said to Jason, we were interviewing him. We had guys in his face, hands in his face, and he's firing these 3-pointers that are just drilling them. In key moments too. Trinity, you guys mentioned Owen, and he's been in the spotlight for years, but he's better and better and better. We had a really good comeback attempt against them, and momentum was all on our side. Owen attempted a 3-pointer from the corner,
unbelievable.
Got swatted, went right back into his hand, and he without missing a beat, he just calmly sank it again. Like, it was one of the most incredible plays.
It really was.
It was crushing, I think, for us, because what could have been that moment of getting a good block on Owen Schleger of all people, and 3 seconds later the ball's going through the hoop anyway.
Into his face. It was blocked right into his face. He caught it and put it right back up.
And 6 of 6 from the free throw line in the last minute. I mean,
I think he was 12 for 12.
None of them were even close.
Yeah.
They were all going in. York High, we played them. I'll give a little shout out to a freshman they have named Josiah Romero. He's going to be something to watch for the next few years. James Buchanan is down a little bit in our division, but they had a kid named Drew Kraus who did he scored 25 against us. But he can score it in many different ways. Tough kid. He's, again, not going to get a ton of attention because they're going to be a below 500 team. Steel High's got a handful of guys. You mentioned some of them already. Tristan Crawford Jr. was the guy for them yesterday against us, but they had 5 kids in double figures the night we played them. So that's tough balance.
Yeah, and you know what? They were a field goal. I'm sorry to interrupt you. They were one field goal away from having 6 in double figures.
Yeah,
they needed.
Yeah, that kid fouled out. He probably would have gotten double figures if he would have stayed in the game.
Yeah, they were 2. If it was Alquan Johnson finished with 8. If he would have had one more bucket or two free throws, they would have had 6 in double figures.
Yeah,
that's a coach's dream come true. Coach Rashad Macon,
Oh, yeah, for sure, and he's doing a great job with that team. And Ty hit the nail on the head with Harrisburg. I mean, they got some really tough kids. I think if they had that, that Proctor type, they'd be in a different. They'd be right up there with CD, CV, Chambersburg, and that Commonwealth division. But they have a lot of hardworking, hard-nosed fast kids who can get to the basket and do some damage, as a lot of them did yesterday against us. So, we've
Wonderful.
seen some really good players this year. Your list sounded really good to me.
Yeah, I mean, they were kind of chalk, like the easy ones that because we've been following these same guys for, years now, almost all of them. So, that.
Hey, real quick, when does the rankings come out, guys? When the PIAA rankings, Jeff, can you help us out? Maybe
Power
Michael
rankings?
Bullock.
Power rankings?
Michael, no, the state rankings. Michael Bullock used to do it for years.
I don't know who's doing them now, Dave. Bullock is still covering some stuff freelance, but I don't know that he's doing. I don't think he's done the rankings for a few years now.
Well, Penn
I
Live.
don't know if anybody's taken.
Wouldn't that be Eric Epler?
Epler does some girls basketball. I don't think
That's right. He does girls, and I don't think.
So I don't know where it's at. Honestly, I haven't paid that much attention to the state rankings yet.
Well, at least the Tribune Review in Pittsburgh, a free publication, by the way, no charge. They're updating the WPIAL top WPIAL District 7 teams, all 6 classes, and hopefully maybe Don Rebel will do the basketball again. I know we did it last year, but probably didn't start till January.
So let's finish with this. I texted John and Ty a couple times, and I think I thought better of. I think every Sunday night we'll just do like a kind of little go around the table there and kind of shout out some players that we've become familiar with. Hey, I saw this guy play, and we know that some of those guys are every week in, week out are going to be the best players. But let's talk about some of the teams here before we break up that we think are some of the top teams in the area. We of course have Cumberland Valley. I think for my dime, Cumberland Valley is the top team in the area right now. I mean,
area, do you include York County?
We're including this is going to be for now
Mid-Penn.
But I don't care if you want to throw a team in there, throw them in there.
Central York is a
they're
heavy favorite to win.
Yeah.
Because in the district, Central York's probably the favorite, like Dave said.
Yeah, they have too many good players.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable. Ben Natal, senior, is unbelievable. I mean, I could go on and on.
Cumberland Valley, Central Dauphin, Carlisle, and Chambersburg. I mean, they're all 6A teams, 6A programs. So, should they be a little bit better than the rest? I think so, yeah. But right behind them, I mean, I have Hershey. I think they could probably put together a game, and if they had to, and they were faced with it, and beat, at least stick with some of those teams or beat them. Mechanicsburg, Milton, Hershey's undefeated. Trinity has 2 losses, but they were both non-league losses games. Middletown, again, they're 5-1 overall, and I just don't think you can count Middletown out. They've just been kind of good for the last 4 or 5 years.
I guarantee you one thing. I know 2 teams from the Mid-Penn Conference. They're going to meet in a district championship coming up in February.
Uh-oh. Go ahead, Dave.
It's going to be State College against Mifflin County.
There's only 3 choices.
Ty, do the little.
But it's a fact. It's a fact because I don't think Altoona is going to qualify, but they might win a couple of games. But it's just a little bit different out there. But the thing about District 6, they have to, the winner of that will have to play Erie McDowell and take it from there. But it's still a proud moment, right? 2 Mid-Penn teams meeting for a district championship.
Yep. So who am I missing here? I know that Jeff, you're the Susquehanna Township guy. I think they're 3-4, 4-3, or so. And it's not all about record. Let's be clear about that.
Yeah.
East Pennsboro, I think Big Spring. These are teams that just have good records. It's just off to a good start. Guys, who else should we talk about, or at least give a shout out to that's coming out of the gate pretty well?
Yeah, I mean Hershey's number 1 in the power rankings for 5A, 6-0. Milton Hershey is 2nd or 3rd in the power rankings, 6-0. So they're both undefeated. You haven't mentioned McDevitt locally. They lost to Middletown by 4, I believe, this past week. They beat Boiling Springs. They're 3-2.
They're 3-3, 3-3 now.
3-3. Okay.
Yeah.
I know you don't want to expand a little bit, but in your area, is your area?
I'm not against expanding, Dave.
Right. But did you see what Lancaster Mennonite?
Oh, yeah. That's what we're here to talk about. I remember I just told you yesterday. Unbelievable.
80, you guys should be proud. Chester High, legendary program, 18 trips to the state finals, 8 trips, 8 state titles, has lost to 2 District 3 teams this year, Cedar Crest and Lancaster Mennonite. So I'm very, we've had our problems down here. And Linville Hill is another team that gives our District 1 teams problems down here. They're a bunch of Mennonite kids. So you got some good, the Amish out there can play. The regular boys from the hood can play out there. You have a great, rich area out there of high school basketball, especially on the boys' side.
Well, Dave, first of all, Mennonites aren't quite Amish, okay? Just to be clear about that. Or Amish aren't quite Mennonites. But Lancaster Mennonite, they moved them up to 3A.
Yep.
I'm just having fun here, by the way.
No,
I hope I'm not losing any viewers. But what's a heck of a program down there, man. They win.
I'm hoping for Susquehanna Township, Jeff Morrow. I am hoping you guys get back to the state playoffs for the first time since, you remember, 2020.
That's what Anthony Andrioli, he's here. At least he was. He said, how long is Hannah's playoff drought? So there it is. It's 4 years.
Going to the state tournament,
yeah,
and you lost to Tamaqua in the second round that year, and so hopefully you can get back there, Jeff. And I appreciate your updates. I use a lot of your stuff because I met a lot of the coaches at our Big 60 shootout, a bunch of your ball players, Susquehanna Township over the summer. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, we could have a whole other show, Joe, talking about the Berks League and Lebanon Lancaster League. I mean, Wilson and
yeah, there's a lot down there, man. A lot of great basketball down there. A lot
of good teams in there that will compete in the District 3 tournament come February.
Who's got the connection to our favorite high school basketball coach on planet Earth?
Snip, Berks.
Yeah. We got to you got to connect. I don't know if we want to waste our opportunity though, just giving the guy 15,
you're gonna reach out to
minutes.
Snip for us.
Okay, I will.
He's almost up to 900 wins. I think.
Yeah.
Yep. He's crazy. He's unbelievable. What more can I say?
Unbelievable guy.
You know who Coach Kelsey from Carlisle girls knows him.
Yeah,
she coached with him, Joe.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to reach out to her.
I think I might want to have him on the weeknight show though, and interview him for 45 minutes or an hour.
Yeah, her grandfather.
Do both.
Joe, you and I went to some of the same establishments back in the day. In the 80s, including, remember, did you ever go to Kelsey's Decision? That's Joe's Decision's daughter. The father, Carl's Decision, owned a place called the Locker Room Tavern in Carlisle. You guys ever been there before?
That was too far away from me, Dave.
Okay.
I had to stay close to home, or else something bad was going to happen. I guarantee it. Anybody else have anything for the good here? Any games you guys are going to? You're looking forward to? Jeff? Who do you guys have this week? Susquehanna Township.
Nobody.
That's right. That's right. You're on a break.
January 3rd, we're back at it against Camp Hill.
If anybody is off work or not, tomorrow Central Dauphin again is hosting Wilkes-Barre. I anticipate that should be a competitive game. That's at CD, 2:30 tip off.
Christmas Eve, huh?
Is tomorrow tomorrow Christmas Eve is Tuesday.
Christmas Eve.
Oh, Eve.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were getting your Gentile stuff a little screwed up.
We got Kwanzaa. I celebrate all three: Kwanzaa.
Oh, do you?
Hanukkah, and my wife's laughing in the back. And I'm a Christian. Whatever I am.
You're Jewish, Dave.
That's right. I forgot.
You're Jewish, so he celebrates Kwanzaa. Yep.
There you go.
Star David. All right. So anyway, guys, that was fun, man. Jeff, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, my pleasure, guys.
Send you the link every week. If you can jump in, you're always welcome. Coach Ty Sabercool, thank you. My good friend John Velios, thank you. It was a great show, and we'll work on getting an opening guest for next Sunday, and hopefully we can keep this rolling, man. Have some really good shows and let some people out in the community enjoy some boys high school basketball.
The Snipster would be a good one.
He would be a really good one.
So I'll give him a shout.
You guys all have my number. Call or text me. If you have a coach in mind you want to bring in, like we had Coach Jason Creek, we got to thank him once again. Big Spring coach Jason Creek. You were awesome tonight. Great program, great coach, and we wish you well. So that's
Happy
about it.
holidays.
Guys, thanks very much.
Peace out, guys.
Have a good one.